What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Locks DFS NFL breakdown video, going over this Thursday night, Week 9 NFL slate. For Thursday night, we got the San Francisco 49ers, the Arizona Cardinals. What's the total on this game, Adi? Do you know? Do you have the
40 open at 43 and a half and has been bet down to 42 and a half despite 66% of bets on the over. So a little bit of sharp money on the under.
And then San Francisco favored by like 10, right?
Yeah, they opened at -8 and they've moved to -10 now.
Okay, cool. So, yeah, that's the game we're looking at here. We're going to be getting into it here in a second. But before we do that, we want to do the weekly giveaway. Remember that if you are a subscriber and you comment on our videos, every time you comment, you have a chance to win that free season pass from locksdfs.com. Then we go through and we pick a comment out from the videos. That is a membership to our site for the year. So, Adi has the winner.
Yep. So last week's winner is going to be Stephen Bullock. I've seen him commenting on quite a few of our videos. So just appreciate his support. And so, Stephen, go ahead and DM us at LocksDFS on Twitter, and we'll hook you up with a free season pass of your choice, NFL or NBA. And, yeah.
Cool. And if you are already a member at locksdfs.com, it's already halfway through the season, but you should join us. Obviously, we have NBA as well. The best idea to do right now, if you're trying to get NFL content, would be to just go with the 3-sport pass monthly, NFL, NBA, and college football. But yeah, check us out, locksdfs.com. I am at ByHardy on Twitter. Adi is at really Adi on Twitter. I don't think I said that at the beginning of the video, but with all that said, it's been a little bit of a discombobulated start to the video. But let's go ahead and get into the showdown in front of us. Okay. We like to usually start by going through the top options on the slate in terms of price and guys that we think are most likely to captain. And typically, I'm someone who does not look to often captain a quarterback unless I feel really good about them and not really good about any of their receivers. It's pretty rare. This is definitely a slate where I'm not looking to roster a quarterback because Jimmy Garoppolo is on a run-happy team that is going to be winning the game. They're most likely. They're not going to need to pass. So there's no reason why I would captain Garoppolo. Your upside's very capped there. Kyler Murray is running into probably a top 3 or 4 defense in the league, maybe even second. So, you're pretty much down to, everyone else here. Like Kittle, definitely, he's led the team in targets in each of the last 5 games. Tevin Coleman, we have obviously some injuries that are notable. Like Coleman becomes a lot more of a not that he would be a viable captain probably either way to some extent if Breida, but he becomes a better captain if Breida is out. Breida's questionable. David Johnson is questionable. I think both of them, they both practice in limited fashion leading up to this game. Raheem Mostert also is questionable, but that doesn't really matter unless Breida ends up being out. So, Adi, I think I know your favorite captain already, but who? Oh, go ahead. Yeah, who is your favorite captain?
Well, like you said, it really depends on the injury situations. Like if Matt Breida were to miss this game, then it'd be Tevin Coleman. But I think I kind of do expect Matt Breida to suit up here. It seemed like his ankle injury last week was seemed fairly minor, and that they just kind of had him rest because they were, controlling that game, and Tevin Coleman was running well. So I think he'll probably play, but if they do decide to hold him out on a short week, then I do like Tevin Coleman in the captain spot for sure. If not, probably George Kittle. I know I think a real key point is kind of what you touched upon with Garoppolo is that he really is just a game manager. I mean, this guy hasn't thrown the ball over 33 times at all this season, and you definitely wouldn't anticipate him doing that you wouldn't anticipate this being the week that changes because, they're 10-point favorites.
Should run the ball easily too.
Right. So it does kind of limit, Kittle's pass catching upside. You're really hoping because you're not going to get you're probably not going to get, a spike target week, like 10 to 12 plus targets. So you're kind of banking on touchdowns, which isn't, obviously it could happen, but the guy's got 1 touchdown on the year. He's due for some positive touchdown regression. But I think straight up, I probably prefer Kittle in my captain spot. I do think he probably gets in the end zone here at least once. But it's really dependent on these running back injuries. So you're gonna have to keep a watch on those tomorrow.
I'm definitely still interested in Coleman if Breida is in terms of captain. But yeah, like last week, I mean, we had Coleman on our team. Shout out to Tevin Coleman. Shout out to Adi, 5K Tevin Coleman. Came through big for us. Obviously, ended up getting. We were just talking about it before the video. Like he had 13 touches and ended up with like almost 4 fantasy points per touch. That was like extreme run good to especially Breida's injury ended up helping him out. Although Coleman didn't really play much in the second half, to be honest. I mean, a little bit in the third quarter, fourth quarter. I don't even know how
No,
much he played at all.
he didn't play in the
But like
fourth.
he definitely could have touched with the Breida injury, would have touched the ball a lot more in this game, had that not happened or had they not been blowing them out. So if we see Breida out, I do think Coleman has like a 20 touch type of game here, possibly more,
Mhm.
potentially.
Yeah.
What was it? Oh, one thing I wanted to say. Any like so I think those are going to be two very, especially if Breida's out, Coleman will be a very popular captain. Kittle will be a popular captain. Any contrarian captain spots that you're interested in, like guys down here? Because I don't think there's, like I said, like usually you're at least considering a quarterback and captain, but this week there's not one. You have Kittle, Coleman, Sanders probably isn't getting the target volume that you're hoping for. I actually would be interested in knowing his how he led the team in routes, but I'd be curious to know how many snaps he played if you want to pull that up at some point. But maybe the 49ers D make a little bit of a contrarian, but they will probably be plenty owned because of what I just said, because of the fact that, well, not only the 49ers extremely heavy favorites, the Cardinals are likely to be missing both running backs. Johnson, I think, looks like he's going to play. Is Johnson an interesting contrarian uh, captain option for you if he plays?
Um. Yeah, I mean, he should. I really like to roster volume in my captain spot. And so, David Johnson with Chase Edmonds being out, if he is active and playing in this game, he's probably going to benefit from a ton of volume because they just traded for Kenyon Drake, and Kingsbury did say that he's going to work Kenyon Drake into the game plan and get him into some sets or some packages, I should say. Um, but I think his touch count, if David Johnson's active, is going to be fairly limited. Majority of those touches will go to David Johnson. It's just such a tough matchup. I think a better contrarian captain for me is probably someone like Christian Kirk. Again, just to touch on the topic of like rostering volume in your captain spot. Volume's like the most secure thing that you have in these showdown slates. So anytime you can roster a guy like Christian Kirk, the guy leads them in targets. He came back last week to 11 targets. It seems like Larry Fitzgerald for the past like 2-3 years has always started off the year like week 1, 2, and 3 is like an elite play. And then sort of as we get close to the bye week, he sort of tails off a bit. Maybe just, a little old. But, I think Christian Kirk's just a little. I think he's the most dynamic receiver. And, the one weakness for this 49ers defense has been the slot wide receivers. They're giving up big games to like Tyler Boyd, Juju, Jarvis Landry, Chris Godwin. Not big catch games, but I think 3 of those guys got in the end zone. And it's definitely like, on a 49ers team that doesn't have, or I should say 49ers defense that doesn't have like any weaknesses. The slot wide receiver one is the one that we could take advantage of. And Christian Kirk plays 86% of his routes out of the slot.
That's a
So
ton. Jesus.
yeah, so does they with how much 4 wide they run.
Right.
Larry
That's true.
Fitzgerald,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
true.
Larry Fitzgerald runs a ton of routes out of the slot as well. So both those guys make for good contrarian captains. I think Christian Kirk's going to come in because there's only a $200 price difference on him. I think Christian Kirk's going to come in like way, way, way more highly owned than Larry Fitzgerald, which makes probably Larry Fitzgerald the best contrarian captain. But I think Christian Kirk's ownership shouldn't be too like ridiculously high.
Can I throw one more contrarian captain out there?
Yeah, do it.
I don't think this is a slate because it's not a game like where you're expecting a ton of points, so you're not going to probably need to go all the way down here to captain. But like Demir Bird did run the second most routes on the team last week, and he's only 1.6K. He hasn't had a good game yet this year, But he's
No,
1.6K, like.
he's not making it into my captain spot. It's just 0%. I
It's
think
just not the game. It's just not the game.
no, I think he's a fine play in your flex because he's half the price of the kickers and he could get there in one play.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be a game where we're going to see Kyler Murray drop back, maybe even upwards of 50 times. I mean, San Francisco's first in situation neutral pace of play. San Francisco's 11th. Did I say San Francisco's first? I meant Arizona's first and San Francisco's 11th. So it should be a fairly pace-up game. San Francisco should control the time of possession by a fairly decent margin, but it feels like once this game goes to 14-0, 20-0, 21-0, it's just going to be Kyler Murray dropping back, especially if these running backs just aren't healthy. Damiere Byrd, the reason he got so many routes last game is just because they were trailing by double digits to New Orleans pretty much the entire game. 33 routes run, that's pretty good. It's just one less than Christian Kirk. I don't mind that. I don't mind him in the flex at all. But
we've said it so many times this year on this, if you've listened to all these, but anyone under the kickers that has a defined role on their team is an awesome play on any showdown slate. Pretty much anyone under the kickers that you can count on for – if they're over 30% of snaps, they're definitely solidly in play. And then if they're over 60, then they're awesome under the kickers. So – yeah. So I think one decision point that you may have to make, let's just say that we're locking in Kittle and captain, and then you're locking in Coleman in the flex, or vice versa. You have 6.8 left, so you're probably not going to be able to play both quarterbacks. That leaves you you can't even play both kickers there. So, if you have the decision between what I'm getting to, if you have the decision between Garoppolo and Murray. Obviously, Garoppolo has a higher team total, but we're expecting, obviously, like you said, he hasn't gone over 33 times a game. He's an extreme game manager. 49ers are going to try to keep this thing on the ground. Kyler Murray, on the other hand, although the 49ers have some speedy linebackers who might be able to keep him in check, has that rushing upside. Before last week had rushed 10 times. He's rushed for 2 touchdowns this year. Do you prefer Murray to Garoppolo? Straight up?
Man, it's tough. I think with Garoppolo, you're banking on him getting 2 of the 5 touchdowns that they probably scored this game. And if he does, something like that, probably 4 or 5 touchdowns. They're gonna. Maybe if they don't get in the end zone, they're gonna be down there a lot. And so you're hoping that Garoppolo gets half those touchdowns come through the air. If you feel confident in that happening, then I think you do roster Garoppolo over Murray. He's definitely the safer of the two because Murray has think Baker Mayfield. What showdown was that Baker Mayfield put up -1 until halftime and had 100 yards passing? That was versus San Francisco.
Rams won, right?
That was versus San Francisco, I think.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, I believe so. Because I remember he was just getting tortured by that defensive front, and that's probably a very similar outcome to that's in the range of outcomes for Kyler Murray, and it's a little bit higher in the range than I would want it to be. This San Francisco defensive line is first in adjusted sack rate by a wide margin at 12.2%. The next highest is Carolina at 9.9%. So that's 2.2% better, 2.3% better than the next highest adjusted sack rate in the league. And then this Arizona offensive line is just overrated and bad. They're giving up 27 sacks on the year. They rank 4th from the bottom in adjusted sack rate at 9.6%. It's just if you were writing up defensive line versus offensive line mismatches, this would be the highlight play. It would be the 49ers defensive line versus the Cardinals offensive line. So, I touched on Adi's action, how, I talked about it was in relation to the Daniel Jones play about how rookie quarterbacks, the biggest enemy for rookie and young quarterbacks, think Sam Darnold versus the Patriots, is just pressure. Pressure just absolutely wrecks these guys. The game is just too fast for them right now, and they're not good enough for adjusting out of. I probably shouldn't even need to say much more, but it's just pressure is going to wreck Kyler Murray in a situation like this, and he's going to be facing a ridiculous amount of pressure. So if Kingsbury's smart, which honestly Book is still out on Kingsbury being a sharp coach or not, but if he is sharp, he'll draw a bunch of quick outs to Christian Kirk, Larry Fitzgerald, David Johnson, and try and avoid or try and mitigate the San Francisco pass rush. But again, you're just kind of assuming good coaching there, which is always a tough thing to do. So I guess it's sort of a winded way of saying Garoppolo's probably safer. Kyler Murray's got higher upside with his rushing upside and potential for, a half of garbage time goodness, which could be fun as well.
We've already talked about a little bit about Emmanuel Sanders. I think the clear preference is Kittle, and I don't really think you're going to end up with two 49ers in your lineup. Sanders also one benefit for Sanders is I believe he ran a good bit of his routes in the slot last week. There was a bit about that in the matchups column actually from Silva.
Yeah, he ran 50%.
What it was though exactly.
He ran 50% of his routes out of the slot last week, and Patrick Peterson only has covered the slot less than 10% of the time. I think it's like 5 or 6% of the time on the year.
So that's a plus for him. But I mean, he saw 5 targets last. I mean, they also didn't need a pass last week. That's But I don't think they're gonna have to pass a lot. They're not gonna have to pass a lot in any games because their defense wrecks people.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But he's a contrarian play, especially if you want to for some reason go like their team total is so high that I don't even know why I say for some reason you totally can do this like double stack Garoppolo with Kittle Sanders, and fade Murray and play the 49ers defense maybe and then Coleman. That's something you can do.
It was definitely encouraging to see Emmanuel Sanders play 82% of the snaps last week. The biggest hit was to Dante Pettis. It looks like Deebo Samuel is overtaking him as the wide receiver 2 in this offense, assuming Emmanuel Sanders is the wide receiver 1, which is fair to assume. Deebo Samuel played 70% of snaps last week, even scored a pretty cool rushing touchdown, like a 19-yard rushing touchdown. It's just like this run offense for San Francisco is so fun to watch. Like what they open up is just all like that. Go if you haven't seen that Deebo Samuel rushing touchdown, go look it up. It's just like a thing of beauty. So it's cool that they're using him like that. It kind of boosts his floor just a little bit. I don't know if he's necessarily in play again. It's just so tough to roster these San Francisco pass catchers outside of Kittle because at any given moment, like it's like a Russell Wilson situation almost. It's just like you love plays like Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf, but they could get like 5 targets each week and not surprise anyone. So it's tough with that. But I think what is Deebo Samuel's price actually?
It's not too bad at 5,200.
5,200, yeah, that's not so bad.
He's in play down there.
Yeah, he's viable for sure.
We talked about David Johnson being a contrarian type of play. One thing against David Johnson, since we're going through pros and cons, is that the San Francisco linebackers are elite in coverage, and that is obviously somewhere where, especially in this game, expecting them to be trailing, where you're going to need that receiving floor, and they're not giving it up to running backs at all. Not saying that he can't do his thing, but that definitely, especially coming off his injury, not super encouraged about that. Adi's talked about the dominant 49ers defensive front versus the Cardinals and the pressure they will get on Kyler Murray. I think that because of the line and because they're not priced at $8K like the Steelers defense was on Monday, we could see some pretty solid chalk on the 49ers defense in this game. Adi, thoughts on that? You hate playing defenses?
I mean, I hate playing defenses, but that's just something that's like I can already tell that's like a flaw in my showdown game, at least this year, because we've never really had data on showdowns and winning showdown roster construction, and it's just so surprising how high defenses. I mean, defenses are in on over 60% of the winning showdown, which is just like nuts. If you asked me to guess that, based on what I knew about NFL showdowns prior to this year, I wouldn't have guessed close to 60%. I would have been so far off of that, it would have been stupid. And
these
so
numbers,
sorry. No, I'm just saying, like, this defense is like, it's a flaw in my game, and it's like something I'm trying to get over, like this mental hurdle of like you can totally play defenses in showdowns. But if there's any spot for me to like overcome that, it's this one, because it's just like the pressure is going to lead to turnovers, and the turnovers are going to like just boost their floor. They're not going to give up that many points. It's going to be the Bosa show. Kind of like it's been for the past. I mean, they've given up. Dude,
what about D Ford?
Hold up. They've given up less than 6 points a game for the last month.
Yeah.
For the last month, they've given up less than 6 points per game. Like that shit is stupid, man. Like, gotta play those guys, right?
I was really these total. Look at the total yardage in those games: 180 total yards, 157 total yards versus the Rams. By the way, 157 total yards versus the Rams, 154 versus Washington, 230 versus Carolina last week.
Yeah, and they just get
They've
so
given up
much
over 300.
rest.
They've given up over 300 total yards one time this year. Total yards.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy.
That was like garbage time.
Look at these last four passing games: 78 yards, 48 yards, 50 yards, and 100 yards. That may be the best case of Garoppolo over Murray that we've seen so far.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm being honest.
The defense is super impressive, and Arizona's offense has certainly underwhelmed many, including me, to this point. Not that I didn't expect it to be. I expected it to be fast, and they have been fast, but they just aren't. They had a few weeks where they looked a little bit more vertical, and they're not taking shots like I thought they would try to do. It's a very boring offense to watch, if we're being honest.
Yeah, it's a bit too cute at times.
Definitely too cute. Definitely too cute. I think that a lot when I watch them. We talked about 49ers defense. They're honestly if they let you, first of all, they're a viable captain regardless, but especially if they let you get something that you need a few extra thousand for on this showdown, I think it's fine. Especially another reason that you could go with them is if you think this game is like 20-7 and you think that the San Francisco only scores a few times, and other than that, Arizona's defense kind of keeps them in check, which kind of makes sense. I mean, the 49ers offense isn't like super impressive. If you think that's the case, then absolutely 49ers defense could be the opto captain in this game. I would not be surprised at all. We talked about Kirk Fitzgerald. Kenyon Drake definitely going to be in play if David Johnson is out. Probably going to be he's just going to be very solid if David Johnson is out. If Breida is in, real quick, let's talk about that. Are you interested? What do you think? Let's say that Breida's in and we hear that he's going to play his normal role. What do you see yourself doing with the 49ers running backs? Because right now, Coleman is a virtual lock for us. But if Breida's in, does that change anything for you? Would you roster both of them in any of your builds? How does that kind of play out for you? You think?
Yeah, I'd roster both of them if Breida was in. Yeah. The 49ers have the 5th best run blocking offensive line in football. The Cardinals have the 22nd ranked defensive line versus the run in football. It's just a game where they're going to be able to instill their run game dominance, which is something they want to do. And we're probably going to see I think this Cleveland game, which was just so happened to be a showdown as well, is something very similar to like the probably most highest probable projected outcome of this game, which is just them dominating the ball on the ground. Yeah. And just, the other offense is really struggling to move it. So I think, and also like just to touch on correlation, like if you're playing both running backs, you should probably have the defense as well.
For sure. Oh yeah, for sure.
And so, but that's just simple correlation stuff. You guys probably know that, but it's just a point that, it's worth mentioning that, like, it's a question for you. Like we're probably going 5-1 here, right? Five guys from one team, one guy from the other. I think
a super, and this popped into my head when I was mentioning that team where you double stack Garoppolo was like, well, if I was going to double stack Garoppolo, which I don't love that, just for the record. But like if I was going to do that and then I played the 49ers defense, I'd probably end up with like a cheap, I don't know how much money I have left in that team, but like Gonzalez or like someone cheap. Like I would play someone cheap down here. So probably 5-1. If you're trying to be contrarian, Eric Beamfor posted something very interesting in these games where one team dominates. The most contrarian thing to do, and I'm not saying this is this spot because the 49ers defense is very good, but if you are trying to be contrarian, 3-3 it has the most leverage on the field in that situation. Although 5-1 is opto in these situations. Okay, going down a little bit further, we talked about Breida. We talked a little bit about Debo already. He's definitely in play. But again, like we said, kind of the passing volume doesn't make him an awesome play. This is the first time this has happened this year where the underdog kicker is higher priced than the favorite kicker. Never really happens. I still would prefer gold. I prefer the winning team's kicker pretty much every time. But kickers are going to be in play. I don't think we need to talk about that too much more. It is indoors. That's interesting. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah, I like this spot for both kickers. I mean, Zane Gonzalez has like a good floor because of Kingsbury's donkness when he gets into the red zone.
Right.
He's willing to kick field goals from like 2 yards out.
Down 14-0 halfway through the second on the 3-yard line. There's kick it.
Yeah, it's like 4th and 1 from the 1 or 4th and goal from the 1. He'll just kick a 21-yard field goal there.
For sure, that's a lock.
Yeah, so it's like that's Zane Gonzalez. I guess he's got like good kicker upside there. Good kicker.
Come on, Cliff. I thought you were supposed to be cool.
Dude, I thought so too, but I saw him do that in week 1, and I was like, oh, they're all the same.
Terrible. We talked about Damiere Byrd is our favorite option under the kickers. Well, I think it's our favorite option under the kickers. Adi, I don't have the snaps pulled up in front of me, and I don't have the tab open either. But are any of these guys? I haven't looked too deep into these guys yet because that's something that I'll look at closer to lock. I would assume that Goodwin is pretty much out of the rotation. Pettis only ran 2 routes last week. Zach Zenner would only be in play if David Johnson is out. Charles Clay, don't know about the snaps on him. Saw 3 targets last week. Hasn't really done much. Is there anyone in play down here besides honestly, this Cardinals defense price isn't that bad. Just saying.
Not
play him. I'm not playing him. I'm just saying.
I don't think really anyone else is too much in play. I mean, the Cardinals just don't throw to their tight ends. Both those guys got 41% of the snaps, and they ran 10 and 9 routes respectively. So just bad.
Is it their other tight end? Who is this? Max Williams. Okay. I forgot they had him.
Right, and so they're both out of play. I think probably the only other guy that you could even throw a dart at is maybe Kendrick Bourne. I mean, he got 48% of the snaps in week 8. That was with Emmanuel Sanders playing 82% of them, and then in week 7 before Emmanuel Sanders came, he got 89% of the snaps. So he's looking like the probably overtaking Dante Pettis as the wide receiver 3, but I really don't know too much about that situation. He could just be a good blocking wide receiver and not really run that many routes. Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's super thin when you get down here. You could take a shot on some Arizona pass catcher if you want to. I mean, Trent Sherfield ran 53%, or he was out there for 53% of the snaps. So it looks like in a 4-wide offense, he's going to be the 4th wide receiver. So, you could take a shot there maybe. It's very, very thin, though, down here. So I think that's what really makes the kickers at play to me here, because it's just like there's nothing pretty. This guy like, Jeff Wilson Jr. maybe if Matt Breida's out, or if maybe if one of Matt Breida or Raheem Mostert were out, then he could see, he was the goal line back to start the season, which was kind of surprising. But, he got those 2 touchdowns in weeks 2 and 3. So it's like it's thin, though. Like, I think the kickers are probably as cheap as I'll get outside of Damiere Byrd, but even maybe including Damiere Byrd, I might just go the kickers and lock up that floor,
Yeah, especially with Byrd on the outside, I think that I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up matched up with Sherman on a lot of his routes.
For the most part. I mean, for what it's worth, Sherman's, he's been good this year, but he's pretty slow. And Damiere Byrd is a burner, and he's got an ADOT of like 28.
Does he really?
Yeah, it's like 27 or 27.5. Yeah, they just chuck it deep. He's pretty much a decoy for majority of the game, and then they chuck it deep to him like once in a while. So it's like, that's kind of what you're looking for on a showdown slate. One of those gets caught, and he probably outscores a kicker if he gets like a 40-yard catch. So it's like, I guess for that reason, all you need is one play, but like I said, it's thin. The kickers are probably my favorite option down here.
All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Pretty much wraps it up for us. Wanted to give a quick shout out once again to the boy Tevin Coleman. Look at this freaking
He looks lit, yo. He looks lit.
This dude is straight blazed in his NFL profile picture. Shout out to the boy Tevin. He's the man. He's probably he's a great play either way, but he's a smash if Breida is out. But yeah, I'm probably gonna have him regardless. Just based off the absolute litness in that photo and the game on Sunday. Just for respect purposes.
For what it's worth, though, if Breida is out, like I think you could legitimately make a build with the other 3 San Francisco running backs, just all 3 of them. Like I think you could play Coleman, Mostert, and
how much
Wilson.
Is Mostert? Okay, 48. I don't even know. Did Mostert even practice?
I don't know. I didn't
practice Tuesday at all.
So, I mean, if one of those guys is out, you can make a build with like all three of the running backs. But especially if it's Breida, because then you're more likely to see split touches from the other two guys. So it's like the other two guys, Wilson and Mostert, behind Coleman.
Having more than one 49ers running back definitely sounds good.
Optimal, yeah, absolutely. Agreed. But let's wrap this up, man.
That's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Check us out, locksafes.com. I am at ByHardy on Twitter, and Adi is at Really Adi. Again, be sure to comment, subscribe for a chance to win that free season pass. Leave your favorite play of the slate. Leave a comment if you think one of our takes was trash, etc. Thank you guys so much for watching. Once again, we really appreciate you guys. And see you guys. I'll do a college football video tomorrow. I'll have an NFL video Friday. Obviously, the NBA videos every day. We'll see you guys back here on the channel. Thank you guys for watching. See you guys next time.
Peace.